Okay, so for today, we're going to do a few things. We'll give you a quick little introduction of why we're having this webinar, some of the things that we've been working on, what Novi actually provides. We do have a little bit of a range of some folks here I've been working with for a long time. Some folks are brand new to Novi. Then we'll go through a demo of Inside Engine and then a live Q&A session at the end. So to start off, Novi is a data analytics company, and here are the data products that we offer. This is going to be the main focus of our webinar today. We do also have a whole machine learning platform that you can use to do advanced forecasting workflows, but that's going to not be for time for today. So if you have any questions about that, we're happy to do more chat with you in the future. So Novi provides high quality data sets that are designed to help you make decisions. We understand how important capital investment, acquisitions, recommendations, all that can be to you guys. So that includes things like the transformed public data, and we go out and we aggregate all these different data sources from places like the Railroad Commission in Texas or the NDIC up in North Dakota. But that covers header, drilling and completions data, production, directional surveys. We also have interpreted data, subsurface maps, and lease maps that we use to kind of upgrade that data. And then we have engineered data, things like spacing calculations, parent-child, production allocation, target formations. So those are a variety of different things that we have available. And just real quick here, we will have a recording of this available afterwards for you guys to see. So you don't need to furiously take notes. You can just kind of wait for the recording, and we'll also be able to share that with anybody who's missed the webinar and kind of wants to see it after the fact. Yep. So today I'll walk you through a lot of these live in our Inside Engine visualization tool and kind of walk you through what we've been adding here and how you can use it for your workflows. So Novi is about reimagining and bringing forward upstream E&P data analytics. And our customers use Novi for three main workflows. There's production forecasting, and this is at all scales from local to regional or even lower 48. Oil, gas, water, condensate, hypothetical designs, drill schedules. That's really a strong strength of ours. Second, we have operator surveillance. And this is about getting advanced insights on things like performance trends, spacing, stacking, completions designs, comparing operators, analyzing your competitors or your peers, really core workflows there with Novi. And then valuations, acquisitions, divestitures, equity research, minerals or non-op purchases, lots of different things there that our customers use us for. And that's for opportunity screening, full evaluations, portfolio management, you name it. And finally, what makes Novi different? First is speed and agility. We are a small shop, we're 30 people, but we listen to customer feedback. We rapidly take action on it. We're lean, we're nimble compared to some of our kind of slow monolithic competitors out there. And second, we have the Novi Data Network, which is a pool of operator data from our customers that gives us a tremendous answer key for improving our data sets. So a great example of this would be production allocation. So in the state of Texas and Oklahoma and Louisiana, production is reported at the lease level and not at the well level. And so you need to make an estimate of what the well level production is in order to have a database of well level production. And the Novi Data Network gives us an answer key to see how well our algorithm is doing as we're working on it. Third, investment grade forecasts. This is a core competency of Novi's, and that's about quickly and automatically generating forecasts for huge numbers of horizontal wells. Finally, integrated data to decision. So it's the same platform that goes all the way from the public and the engineered data sets that we have all the way downstream to data integrations, model training, forecasting, and other advanced workflows for helping you make these really important decisions for your businesses. Okay, enough front matter there. Got through it all in 5 minutes. That's good. Okay, so now I'm going to shift gears and move us over to the live demo. And here I've logged into insight.novilabs.com. This is our Inside Engine product, which you can use to view a variety of the different public data sources that we have, data types that we have. Here I'm looking at just horizontal data, US horizontals, but we do also have data from the Gulf of Mexico, offshore. And each of these different tiles that you see on the screen is a different kind of use case that we have here that lets you look at different types of data. So things like supply projections, drilling rigs, permits, you can look at ducts, you can compare operators. And so clicking on any of these will bring up a different use case. So one of the key things that we've added over the last few months has been lease acreage maps. That was a common feedback that we got from our customers, and something that they wanted to see. So you see this one has a little new tag here. So any Novi users, if you just go in there, if you see that little thing, maybe worth checking out if you haven't looked at it yet. So this is quickly loading up here a map of acreage maps. And this is maps that we've gone through and digitized from public sources like investor relations reports. So this is going to have data from operators, publicly traded minerals companies, those types of use cases. And so I'm going to go through here, and as I mentioned, operator surveillance is one of our top use cases, and everybody always wants to know what EOG is doing. So I'm just going to go ahead and filter down to them. You see it's going through and running the filter there. So EOG has a nice kind of spread of acres across the major shale plays, but we're going to go focus on the granddaddy of them all, the Delaware Basin, and zoom in and take a quick look here. So you see the polygons on the map here are the digitized shape files for EOG, and then we're also showing their the well sticks on the map as well. So this is the southwestern corner of Lee County, extremely prolific area, one of the best pieces of shale acreage in the world, actually. And you see EOG's been drilling that, like crazy, but some of the other stuff that's a little bit further away has barely been developed at all. So that's, interesting, quick little observation you can make there, just kind of at the high level. So we do also have all this data is available in our database. So if you access this via our API, you can see all this. If you use the bulk download, from the email, you can see this. But the way that it's structured is that there's a database folder and there's a shapefiles folder. So if I click that shapefiles folder, I can see a list of the different users that a list of the different companies and organizations that we have this data for. So, A to Z here. If you click on the all one, you can find a shapefile that has everybody in it. If you just wanted to load in a big one, but if you wanted to dial it into a specific operator, you have that. I also want to mention here, we do have, if it is available at the time, with the document, something like an average working interest or average net revenue interest, we will record that information in the attribute table of that shapefile. So that can be pretty useful for some folks. Okay, so next up, I'm going to go show you another super new set of data here that we've just integrated into our data service, and that's subsurface data. So this is so new that it's in beta and hasn't even shown up on our public, but it is the data is in our API. And what we're doing here is we're going through, and at each of those well locations, we're extracting out rock properties. So that's things like porosities, oil in places, depths, so that the user can have a database. So if you wanted to know, hey, what's the water saturation of EOG's wells, you can check that out, or whatever it happens to be. So for this one, again, I'll filter down to the Delaware. I'm using the sub-basin filter here. So we break out the plays into sub-basins, and these can be useful if you wanted to zoom in a little closer. And this is also something we've recently added in the last couple months. So if you're not super tuned in, that's there. So I'm going to use that to filter down to the Delaware Basin. And the way that we have this dashboard set up is that we will show a map of the rock property. And by default here, we're selecting structural depth. And then we're showing you a histogram of how oil production, or you can configure that, varies depending on the depth, and then a histogram of the properties over here on the right. So once again, I'm going to filter down to EOG for this one. So now I'm just going to be looking at the EOG wells. And all these rock properties that we're extracting it for the zone that this particular well was landed in. So we use the directional survey in combination with our subsurface depth grids to figure out where the well was landed. We will also report things like what percentage was it in that zone, how far away was it from the top of the zone, from the bottom of the zone. So that can be useful information for you as well. And really quick here, you can see a nice top level trend for EOG. Here we're just showing structural depth, but you see that the deepest wells are producing the most oil here, which, you know, it's a simple trend, but we see it all the time. Let me go ahead and switch over to something that might be a little more useful. So I'll go over to porosity here for you guys, just by using that little drop down. So there we go, porosity. And then this has a bunch of different zones in it right now. So that's why you're seeing it's a little over the map. I'm going to filter this down. Let's say I'm just interested in their Bone Spring developments. So I'm going to go grab first, second, and third there and just filter it down to those zones. So obviously Delaware Basin, lots and lots of different zones that are developed. It's a rather complex basin. But here we can see that, you know, porosity enrichment in the Bone Springs and the area that EOG has been developing kind of falls off a little bit as you go over to the other areas. So that's, you know, common little type of workflow that you'd like to use there. Also, all this data is available to run through our machine learning platform if you do want to use it. Just kind of calling that out there. Okay, this dashboard, that should be available to you guys here any day now. So pretty excited about that. So I'm going to go through and call out another exciting piece of data that we've just added into our service, and that's spacing data. So you'll be able to find this in the well spacing file that sits within our API and within our download. So it's just called wellspacing.txt. This one's so fresh that we don't even have a beta version dashboard of it. So I'm just going to show it to you the old manual way in Spotfire here. So if you have any suggestions for ways that you'd like to slice and dice the spacing data, feel free to drop it in the chat. And you know, now's literally the perfect time to give us some suggestions for that. So for the spacing data, we've taken basically the greatest hits of our spacing calculations that we've developed for our ML platform, and we've put them here into the data service that are calculated for every well in Lower 48 that we have, you know, a bottom hole location, TVD, and a first production date. So even if we don't even have a survey, you know, we can kind of guess what the trajectory was. So we'll calculate all that. So this has stuff like how far was the closest well, how many wells are in the radius, is it a child well, how many parents were there, how long was the parent online, things like that. So what I'm showing you here is a time series of wells that EOG has put on production in the Eagle Ford, the Permian, and the Williston basins, you know, big three liquids plays here. And the colors of these different charts, it's a light brown if it's a child well, and it's a dark brown, sorry, it's a light brown if it's a parent well, and it's a dark brown if it's a child well. So taking a quick look at this, you can see that in the Williston, basically every well that EOG has drilled since early 2013 has been a child well. In the Eagle Ford, you get up to around, you know, 2017, and almost every well is a child well. Whereas in the Permian, there's, you know, still 20% or more of the wells are kind of co-developed parents. And this is something that we see across multiple operators. And in the Permian, you generally have better held by production from vertical wells. You can also have, you know, because you have such a vast degree of stacked pay, we'll recognize that maybe it's maybe that you've got a well which is super high in the section, and they're coming back and developing everything that's functionally full kind of child development down there. So that's just kind of an interesting trend that we've seen there. Okay, yeah, and Kurt's just chiming in. Looks like chat is disabled. Okay, that's a little surprising. Let me go set that over. Okay, you should be able to chat with everyone now. So go ahead and give that a check there. To see if you can drop something in the chat. Sorry about that. Must have got our settings off at the beginning. Okay, I'm going to show you a different item here, which is the closest well XY, and this is just looking out laterally for the closest neighbor. So we filtered out wells that are directly above or below, kind of using a little cone, and we're looking just kind of laterally or wine racked to the side of either well here. So I'm just showing you the Eagle Ford again. This is just EOG wells, and the interesting trend that you can see here is that as they're getting through 2010, 11, 12, 16, they're bringing the wells tighter and tighter together. And then they kind of back it off a little bit from 2017 on forward. Some of those wells are still developed pretty tightly, but the wells in general are spaced more widely than they were at kind of the tightest peak there in 2016. If I flip down to the Permian, kind of a similar story actually, where if you look at 2018 and 2019, you see some very dense wells here, and then they've kind of backed off of that with time. And if I flip down to the Williston, they haven't been doing that much drilling there from 2019 through today, so I wouldn't read too much into it. But this can be very useful for doing this type of analysis for an operator to see how they're doing. Okay, so that's spacing data. So this one, as I mentioned, brand new within our data service. You can also go, and if you wanted to license Data Engine, you can configure our spacing calculations your own. You can kind of set all the different items. You get a broader set of calculations, but we put the greatest hits. We put the greatest hits in our Insight Engine product for you guys to use. Okay, so next up, I'm going to shift over and show you a hugely important data set, which is production allocation. So as I mentioned up at the top, you have lease level production in Texas and Oklahoma and Louisiana and Kansas, but whatever, I'm sure I'm missing a state or two in there as well. But it's you want it at the well level to do a proper analysis of valuations, competitor surveillance, and everything. So this dashboard is a little busy, so give me a second here, but I think it's important for us to walk through. But this is actually what we use internally to evaluate how things are working. So I'm gonna giving you guys a little peek behind the hood here. So what I'm showing you is the error against our database of operator actuals. So in the Permian, I think that's something like 5,000 wells. Don't quote me on that, but something like 5,000 wells. And so what we're doing is we take the production at the lease level, we split it out into the well level, and then we take our estimate of what the well level production is, and we compare it to the actual data that we have from the operator. So pretty powerful way of looking at it and comparing. And each of the different colored bars and colored lines you see here is a release that we've had for our production allocation. So starting in May here up at the top, you see our error on the x-axis. So that goes down to around, it gets cut in over half by the time that we're here for the September releases. So this is 4 months, or so worth of progress. And we're still making, 10% or so chunks each release. You see down here at the bottom, the way this tends to work out is that the allocation error is a little higher at early time, and that's because the wells tend to be a little less stable in their production. The wells are also producing more at that point, so your error is going to be higher than at later time. This is for oil. If I switch over to gas production, you can see kind of a similar trend. Errors generally are higher for gas production, which just tends to be a noisier production stream. And then for water production, water is even harder. And you see we had a huge improvement in July here. The reason water is harder is because you're not actually even allocating the data from the lease level. You just have to estimate it at the well level based on the production tests that you have. So that one's a tricky problem, but we're very happy with the progress that we've made here. We believe at this point we're the best in the business at it. So if you want to talk in some more detail about our production allocation, drop us a note, and we'd be happy to go into that with some more detail for you guys. Okay. I'm going to pop back over to our main dashboard screen here. So once again, we have all these different tiles. These are different dashboards, different use cases. I'm going to pop over and show you a production forecast here, just because this is an important strength of ours. So you see the wheels spinning here for a second for us. So once again, you have a similar style of dashboard. I hope you'll notice these kind of follow the same basic rules where we have a map over there on the left and then some kind of chart over there on the right. And we have, in this case, I'm showing oil production per day, and this is on a log plot, and it's the rate. And then on the x-axis, I have cumulative production. So you have the options to change that. If you wanted to do a rate time, if you wanted to do a cum time chart, those are available. But I'm showing you the rate cum for there, and you have the option of normalizing it by lateral length if you want, or by proppant intensity. So I'm going to zoom in here to the Delaware Basin again, our favorite. That's not true. We love all basins equally. Okay, so there we see 18,000 wells. And each of these lines here on the chart that you're seeing is the average of all the wells for a given year. So you see nice progress being made all the way from 2007 up to today. I'm going to go ahead and pop over and normalize these by lateral length. Lateral length in our analysis, depending on the basin that you're in, lateral length is a lot of times the most important driver of the increase in well performance over the past 5 years. And so it's a really important one to normalize to kind of properly evaluate the trends. And so if you do that quick normalization, now you see that 2016 there is actually showing better production on average on a length normalized basis than 2019 or 2018 there. So that's maybe not great, but just a kind of quick little thing to call out there. And then again, let's go ahead and filter down to EOG. So we see EOG's sticks on the map, and then we see their production. So 2016 was looking amazing. The wells were fantastic, over probably going to end up a little over 100 barrels a foot there. Whereas the 2020, 21, 22 wells are dropping quite a bit off of that. But you're no longer doing these giant parent wells with huge fracs. You're doing full development. You have parent-child relationships to deal with. So lots of things that operators are dealing with here. I do want to emphasize, and let's go ahead and zoom in on the map here. And I'm going to zoom in more than that. Let's zoom in on the map here. If I wanted to change these and show it by the formation or some of the other data that we have available, I can do that. That's kind of up to you. And let me go through and just kind of click. I can click on one of these wells and bring it up on the map. And it'll show me the forecast for that well individually. So these forecasts aren't available just for the currently producing wells. They're not available just at the total level. We have them at the very well level right there as well. So this one, not looking too great there, but it was drilled in 2011. So not a real surprise. Man, that's kind of a downer right there. I should have showed you the boomer well. Okay. So that's the material that I wanted to cover for you guys today. The only other thing that I want to mention for a major addition for us recently is we did add in the vertical wells. We added in vertical well production, so that's available within our database. We don't have that yet available here in the front end. And then the other thing is, if you did want to use our data products as part of our and bring them into our modeling suite, we just have this simple little Novi data button up here where you can go through and just kind of choose the basin of interest, and it'll go and bring in the kind of freshest cut of that data for you to take into the advanced modeling suite, if that's of interest. Okay. So that's the material that I had today. So I'm gonna take your questions now. Please feel free to drop them in the chat or in the Q&A, and I'll stick around until we get them answered. So thanks everyone. If you're dropping off, thanks for attending. We will send out a recording. So that'll be available for you guys. Zoom takes a couple hours of progress, so it'll probably be at some point tomorrow that it comes through. Okay, so now I'll go through into the Q&A session. So we got an answer. We got a question from Scott Baker here. How are you acquiring and aggregating the subsurface properties? Most of those we've licensed from a provider who goes through and does everything, the full workup from petrophysical analysis through geocellular modeling. And it's a consistent process that's done basin to basin to basin. If you have more questions about that, feel free to send us an email. And by the way, I'll drop my email in the chat there. And Connor and Emily, if you guys wouldn't mind doing that as well. So yeah, happy to discuss that in some more detail. Okay. We also got a question here from Robert Hefner. Are you able to build geocellular models? We don't do geocellular modeling. We do have machine learning modeling that we do for production forecasting, but we don't do any geocellular modeling. Not our strength. Okay, we got a question from Julian Darley there. Do we have any data on water or fluid injection? We have produced water data that we collect whenever it's available. We don't yet track the injection, but that's something that we do have on our radar for something to start gathering here in the near future. So yeah, I understand that's important for a variety of workflows. Okay, it looks like Kurt gave us some nice spacing ideas there: gun barrel view, violin plots of dependent variables, contours, depletion impact against horizontal, vertical spacing. Yeah, that's all great ideas. Thank you, Kurt. I think we'll probably do a lot of those. And then we also have a question from Robert Hefner. How far back does your historical production data integration go? It varies state to state. I think we're back to around 2000 as a baseline. So that's where we are. Okay, I answered that one live. And then we got a question from Shubham Garg. Is there any way to get an updated real-time number on tier 1% dashboards like the one we presented and wrote in July? I'll say stay tuned on that one. We eventually would like to offer a data product that had real-time data on that type of thing. Right now, you can take care of that workflow yourselves within our machine learning forecasting tool. You can just kind of go in and forecast drilled and undrilled locations and do a comparison. But yeah, that's something we'd like to answer for everyone as a data set, but we're not there yet. That's good. Okay. What else? We've got a few more minutes here. Happy to take any more questions you guys have. Yeah, and thanks everyone for the comments there in the chat. Nice to see everybody tuning in and getting the questions. Okay, well, that seems like it's going to be it for today. Me, Emily, and Connor did drop our emails in the chat, so if you do have any further questions you want to have, if there's anything you want more clarity on, you want to demo of more parts of the product, just let us know.